Alex Rodriguez was having the worst week of his life. His girlfriend had broken up with him over text, his thesis advisor was demanding rewrites for the third time, and his part-time job at the campus bookstore barely covered rent for his tiny studio apartment. At 24, he felt like life was moving in slow motion, while everyone else was racing ahead. That Tuesday night started like any other. Alex had fallen asleep at his desk again, textbooks scattered around him like fallen soldiers. His laptop was still humming, displaying charts about planetary atmospheres and the possibility of life beyond Earth. Studying astronomy had always been his escape from reality, but lately, even the stars felt distant and cold. Around 2:47 a.m., something woke him up. Not a sound, exactly. More like a feeling. You know that sensation when someone is watching you? That prickle on the back of your neck that makes you turn around in an empty room? That's what pulled Alex from his restless sleep. He lifted his head from the pile of papers stuck to his cheek and blinked in the darkness. The streetlight outside cast weird shadows through his blinds, making everything look strange and unfamiliar. He was about to go back to sleep when he saw it. There was someone sitting on his bed. Alex's heart jumped into his throat. His first thought was that someone had broken in. His second thought was that he might still be dreaming. But dreams don't usually include the smell of ozone and something else he couldn't identify. Something clean and metallic, like rain on metal. The figure wasn't moving. It just sat there, cross-legged at the foot of his bed, completely still. Alex squinted, in the dim light, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The person was small, maybe 4 feet tall, with impossibly thin arms and legs. Their head seemed too big for their body, and in the half-darkness, their skin looked pale and smooth, almost gray. "Hey," Alex whispered, his voice cracking like a teenager. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" The figure tilted its head, and Alex caught sight of its eyes. They were huge, dark, and seemed to reflect the little bit of light in the room like a cat's eyes. But there was something else in those eyes: intelligence, curiosity, and strangely enough, what looked like kindness. Alex reached for his phone to call 911, but his hand froze halfway to the nightstand. The figure wasn't threatening him. It wasn't even moving. It was just sitting there, watching him with those enormous eyes. Then something incredible happened. Alex heard a voice, but not with his ears. It was inside his head, clear as day, speaking in a tone that was neither male nor female, but somehow felt warm and friendly. "Please do not be afraid," the voice said. "I mean no harm to you or your dwelling place." Alex's mouth fell open. He looked around the room, wondering if he was losing his mind. Are you talking to me? In my head?" "Yes. Your species' vocal communication is difficult for me. This method is more efficient. My name in your language would sound like Zephyr. It is the closest translation I can provide." Alex sat up slowly, his mind racing. This had to be a dream. People didn't just appear in your apartment and talk telepathically. That kind of thing only happened in movies or late-night TV shows about alien encounters. "You're not human," Alex said, and it wasn't a question. "Correct. I am from a place your astronomers have not yet discovered. My vessel experienced mechanical difficulties approximately 2.3 Earth miles from this location. I require temporary shelter while it repairs itself." Alex rubbed his eyes hard, hoping when he opened them, his room would be back to normal. When he looked again, Zephyr was still there, still watching him with those impossibly large eyes. "This is crazy," Alex muttered. "I'm talking to an alien in my apartment at 3 in the morning. I understand this is unusual for your species. First contact is rarely pleasant for either party. However, I chose your dwelling because I sensed something different about you." "Different how?" Zephyr's head tilted again, and Alex got the impression it was considering how to explain something complicated to a child. Your kind broadcasts strong emotional signatures. Most humans in this area project fear, anger, or sadness. But you, Zephyr paused. You broadcast curiosity and kindness, even in your sleep. These are rare qualities, especially combined. Alex didn't know what to say to that. He'd never thought of himself as particularly kind or curious. Lonely, maybe. Disappointed with how his life was turning out. Definitely. But kind? I know this is much to process. Zephyr continued. If you wish me to leave, I will find another place to wait. But I hoped you might allow me to stay until sunrise. My ship's repairs will be complete by then. Alex stared at the being on his bed. Everything in his rational mind screamed that this was impossible. Aliens didn't exist. And if they did, they certainly didn't crash land in Portland, Oregon and ask college students for help. But looking at Zephyr, Alex felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Wonder. Pure childlike amazement at something beyond his understanding. This creature had traveled across space and somehow ended up in his messy studio apartment, and it was asking for help, not demanding it or threatening him. Are you hurt? Alex asked, surprising himself with the question, not seriously. Some minor damage to my biosuit, but nothing that will not heal. Biosuit? Zephyr extended one thin arm, and Alex saw what looked like a small tear in its skin. But instead of blood, there was a faint blue glow beneath. This form is not my natural state. It is designed to help me survive in your atmosphere. The damage will repair itself, but it is uncomfortable. Without thinking, Alex stood up and moved closer to the bed. Does it hurt? Pain is perhaps too strong a word. It is more like an irritation that will not stop. Alex found himself reaching out, then stopped. Is it okay if I... Zephyr nodded, and Alex gently examined the tear. Up close, he could see that what he'd thought was skin was actually some kind of advanced material, smooth and warm to the touch. I study this stuff, Alex said quietly. Well, not alien biosuits, but space sciences. I've always wondered what it would be like to meet someone from another world. And now you know. Alex looked up into those dark eyes. Yeah, it's nothing like I imagined. Zephyr reached into what Alex now realized was some kind of pocket in its biosuit and pulled out a small device that looked like a crystal mixed with metal. The device glowed softly as Zephyr held it near the tear. Within seconds, the damage sealed itself completely. Incredible, Alex breathed. How does that work? Molecular reconstruction. We can teach this technology to your species, but first... Zephyr's voice in Alex's head became somehow warmer. First, we must determine if your people are ready for such gifts. Alex sat back down on his desk chair, his mind spinning with 1,000 questions. What do you mean, ready? My people have been watching your world for some time. We see great potential in humanity, but also great dangers. Your species is capable of extraordinary kindness, but also terrible cruelty. We must be certain that advanced technology would be used wisely. And you're here to figure that out? I am here to observe, to learn, to understand what humans are truly like when they believe no one is watching. Alex thought about that. Here was an alien, crashed and vulnerable, asking for help from a complete stranger, and Alex's first instinct hadn't been to call the government or try to capture it or become famous. His first instinct had been to ask if it was hurt. So what happens? Now? Alex asked. That depends on you. I can wait here until dawn and then leave, never to trouble you again. Or... Zephyr paused, and Alex sensed it was taking a risk by continuing. Or you could allow me to stay a bit longer, to learn more about your kind through your actions, not your words. Alex looked around his tiny apartment. It was barely big enough for one person, let alone two, And one of those two was an alien from another world who communicated telepathically and wore a biosuit that could heal itself. It was crazy. It was dangerous. It was probably the worst idea he'd ever had. "You can stay," Alex said. "But just until you figure out what you need to know, okay?" Zephyr's large eyes seemed to brighten. "Thank you. I promise you will not regret this kindness." Alex had no idea how wrong and how right that statement would turn out to be. As he settled back into bed, leaving Zephyr sitting quietly in the corner like the world's most unusual houseguest, he couldn't shake the feeling that his boring, disappointing life had just become something extraordinary. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new questions, and the beginning of a friendship that would change not just Alex's life, but the future of humanity itself. But for now, in the quiet darkness of his small apartment, Alex Rodriguez fell asleep with a smile on his face for the first time in weeks, while his new alien roommate kept watch through the night. Alex woke up the next morning convinced it had all been a dream. The stress of finals, his recent breakup, and too much caffeine had finally caught up with him. He'd probably dreamed the whole thing after falling asleep over his astronomy textbooks. Again. But when he rolled over and saw Zephyr sitting in the exact same spot, calm as ever, reality hit him like a cold shower. The alien was real. This was actually happening. "Good morning," Zephyr's voice echoed in his head, sounding oddly cheerful for someone who had crash-landed on an alien planet. "I hope you rested well." Alex sat up slowly, running his hands through his messy hair. "Yeah, about that. Shouldn't you be gone by now? Didn't you say your ship would be fixed by sunrise?" There was a pause, and Alex could swear he sensed embarrassment from his unexpected houseguest. "There have been complications. The repairs are taking longer than expected. Perhaps another day or two." "A day or two?" Alex's voice cracked. "Zephyr, I've got classes today. My landlady, Mrs. Chen, comes by every Wednesday to check the water heater, and my roommate Danny gets back from visiting his parents tonight." "Roommate?" Zephyr tilted its head. "But you live alone." "Well, yeah. Technically. But Danny's name is on the lease, too. He just stays at his girlfriend's place most of the time." Alex rubbed his face. "Look, this is complicated. Humans aren't supposed to know about aliens yet, right? What happens if people find out you're here?" Zephyr stood up, and Alex was struck again by how graceful it was, despite its unusual proportions. "You are correct. Discovery at this time would be problematic for both our species. I can remain hidden when others are present." "How exactly? Do you plan to do that?" Instead of answering, Zephyr walked over to Alex's bookshelf and simply stood there. Within seconds, its biosuit began to change. The gray skin darkened and hardened, taking on the exact appearance of wood. Its eyes dulled to match the binding of Alex's textbooks. In less than 30 seconds, Zephyr looked exactly like an oddly shaped sculpture. Alex's jaw dropped. That's incredible. How are you doing that?" Zephyr shifted back to its normal appearance. "Biosuit adaptation. It can mimic most materials and textures for short periods. However, it requires significant energy, so I cannot maintain it for hours." "Okay, that actually might work." Alex grabbed some clothes from his dresser. "Just, don't do anything weird while I'm in the shower, okay?" 20 minutes later, Alex emerged to find Zephyr examining his coffee maker with the intensity of a scientist studying a new species. Steam was rising from the machine, and the alien was holding the glass pot with obvious fascination. "This device heats water and passes it through ground plant matter," Zephyr observed. "The result is the dark liquid you humans consume for stimulation." "It's called coffee," Alex said, reaching for his favorite mug. "Want to try some?" Before he could stop, Zephyr had already taken a small sip directly from the pot. The reaction was immediate and terrifying. The alien's eyes went wide, its skin flashed between several different colors, and it made a sound like air being let out of a tire. "Bad idea!" Zephyr's mental voice was strained. "Very bad idea. This substance is highly toxic to my system." Alex dropped his mug and grabbed Zephyr's arm. "Are you okay? What can I do?" Zephyr was swaying on its feet, colors still rippling across its biosuit. It pulled out the same crystal device from the night before and pressed it against its chest. Gradually, the color changes stopped and its breathing returned to normal. "I am recovered," Zephyr said weakly, "but I now understand why your species is so energetic. That liquid is essentially poison to my biology." "Great. So no coffee for the alien," Alex muttered, cleaning up the spilled liquid. "What do you eat anyway?" "Light," Zephyr replied simply. "And certain mineral compounds found in your tap water. I require very little sustenance compared to humans." Alex paused in his cleaning. "You eat light? Like actual sunlight?" "Among other electromagnetic frequencies, yes. Your yellow sun is quite nourishing, though different from my home star." This was getting more surreal by the minute. Alex had an alien roommate who ate light and almost died from coffee, and he had exactly 45 minutes to get to his advanced planetary science class without anyone discovering the most important scientific discovery in human history was sitting in his kitchen. "Okay, here's the plan," Alex said, grabbing his backpack. "I'll be gone for about 6 hours. Mrs. Chen usually comes by around noon, but she just checks the basement and leaves. Danny won't be back until tonight. Think you can handle staying hidden that long?" "I believe so. However, I am curious about something." Zephyr moved to the window and peered through the blinds. "Why do humans cultivate plants in small containers?" Alex looked at his collection of half-dead succulents on the windowsill. "You mean my plants? They're just nice to look at, I guess. They make the place feel more alive." "But you do not consume them. They serve no practical purpose. Yet you provide them with water, light, and care." Zephyr's mental voice sounded genuinely puzzled. "This is inefficient." "Not everything humans do is about efficiency," Alex explained, adjusting his backpack. "Sometimes we do things just because they make us happy, or because we like taking care of something." Zephyr was quiet for a long moment. "Your species forms emotional attachments to living things, even when they provide no benefit to survival." "Yeah, I guess we do." Alex headed toward the door, then stopped. "Wait, you're not going to hurt my plants, are you?" "No. I find this behavior interesting. I will observe them while you are away." Alex left for class with his head spinning. How was he supposed to concentrate on planetary formation theories when he had actual alien technology sitting in his apartment? Professor Williams droned on about atmospheric composition and gravitational forces, but all Alex could think about was Zephyr's biosuit and that incredible healing device. When he finally got home that afternoon, Alex found Zephyr, exactly where he'd left it, but something was different. His dying succulent, the one that had been brown and shriveled for weeks, was now green and healthy, with new growth sprouting from its base. "What did you do to my plant?" Alex asked. "I observed its distress and provided minor biological assistance. It was dying due to mineral deficiency and cellular damage. The repair was simple." Alex stared at the plant. "You healed my succulent. Is this problematic? I thought you would be pleased. You appeared to care for this organism." A weird feeling was growing in Alex's chest. This alien, stranded on an unfamiliar world, had spent its day observing his dying plant and decided to save it. Not because it served any purpose, but because it seemed to matter to Alex. "No, it's not problematic," Alex said quietly. "It's really thoughtful, actually. Thank you." Just then, keys rattled in the door. Alex's heart stopped. Danny was back. "Early! Quick!" Alex hissed. Hide! Zephyr immediately transformed into what looked like a modern art sculpture, all angular lines and metallic surfaces. Alex quickly positioned himself between the disguised alien and the door just as Danny walked in. Hey, roomie! Danny called out, dropping his duffel bag with a thud. Miss me? Danny, you're back early. Alex tried to sound casual while his heart hammered against his ribs. How was home? Same old drama. Mom's mad at Dad. Dad's mad at the neighbors. Neighbors are mad at the dog. Danny glanced around the apartment. Whoa, when did you get into art? That sculpture thing is actually pretty cool. Alex's eyes darted to Zephyr, who remained perfectly still in sculpture form. Oh, that? It's, borrowed from the art department for a project. Looks expensive, very modern. Danny moved closer to examine Zephyr, and Alex felt sweat beating on his forehead. The metalwork is incredible. It almost looks alive. Yeah, well, you know how art students are, Alex said quickly. Always pushing boundaries. Danny shrugged and headed for the refrigerator. Cool. Hey, did you eat all my leftover pizza? I'm starving. As Danny rummaged through the fridge, Alex caught a glimpse of Zephyr's eyes. Even in sculpture form, they were watching, learning, taking in every detail of human behavior. Alex realized that his alien visitor wasn't just hiding from Danny, it was studying him, trying to understand how humans interacted with each other. The next few hours were the most stressful of Alex's life. Danny settled in to watch TV, occasionally making comments about the sculpture and asking Alex questions about school. Meanwhile, Zephyr remained frozen in place, maintaining its disguise with what must have been enormous effort. Finally, around midnight, Danny announced he was crashing at his girlfriend's place after all. Too many people here, he joked, grabbing his jacket. Me, you, and your fancy art project. Place is getting crowded. The moment the door closed behind Danny, Zephyr collapsed back into its normal form, visibly exhausted. That was educational, Zephyr said weakly. Your friend Danny is very different from you. Different how? His emotional signature is more chaotic, louder. You remain calm even under stress, but he broadcasts every feeling immediately. Zephyr moved to sit on Alex's bed. Is this typical of human relationships? Alex thought about it. Yeah, pretty much. We're all different. Danny's more outgoing. I'm more internal, I guess. Yet you live together peacefully despite these differences. Most of the time. Alex grabbed 2 bottles of water from the fridge, offering one to Zephyr before remembering it didn't need H. By the end of the first week, Alex had settled into the strangest routine of his life. Wake up, check that his alien roommate hadn't accidentally destroyed anything overnight, grab breakfast while Zephyr absorbed sunlight by the window, then head to classes while pretending his world hadn't completely turned upside down. Zephyr was getting better at understanding human behavior, but some things still confused it completely. Like why Alex insisted on making his bed every morning when he was just going to mess it up again at night, or why humans kept decorative objects that served no practical purpose. This item, Zephyr said one morning, holding up Alex's favorite, coffee mug, a chipped ceramic thing with a faded university logo. It is damaged, yet you continue to use it instead of the perfect ones in your cabinet. Alex paused in his morning routine. It was a gift from my sister when I started college. It has sentimental value. Sentimental value, Zephyr repeated slowly. Emotional attachment to objects based on memory rather than function. Exactly. Alex took the mug and poured his coffee, careful to keep it well away from his alien friend. Humans do that a lot. We keep things that remind us of people we care about or important moments in our lives. Zephyr filed this information away like it was studying for the most important test in the universe, which Alex was beginning to realize it probably was. That Thursday afternoon, everything changed. Alex was walking back from his advanced astronomy seminar, thinking about Zephyr's latest questions about human music. Apparently, the concept of creating sounds for pure enjoyment was fascinating to beings who communicated telepathically. When he noticed the black cars parked outside his building, 3 of them, tinted windows, government plates, his blood turned to ice. Alex ducked behind a delivery truck and pulled out his phone, his hands shaking as he typed a text to himself. A code he and Zephyr had worked out for emergencies. Within seconds, Zephyr's voice filled his mind, calm but urgent. "I sense your distress. What is wrong?" "Government cars outside the building," Alex thought back, hoping Zephyr could pick up his mental communication. They'd been practicing, but Alex wasn't nearly as good at it as his alien friend. "I understand. Do not return. They are already inside." "Your dwelling." Alex's heart sank. "Are you safe? Can you hide?" They brought scanning equipment. "My biosuit cannot fool their technology. They have taken me to a vehicle." Pure panic shot through Alex's system. "Where are they taking you?" "Unknown." "But Alex." Zephyr's mental voice grew fainter, as if it was being pulled away. "You must know. This was not just random. They were looking specifically for me. Someone reported unusual energy signatures in this area." The mental connection cut off, leaving Alex standing alone on the sidewalk, watching the black cars drive away with his friend inside one of them. Alex spent the next 3 hours walking around the city in a daze, his mind racing. How had they found Zephyr? Who had reported the energy signatures? And what were they going to do to an alien who had done nothing but try to understand human kindness? By the time he worked up the courage to return to his building, the cars were gone. Mrs. Chen was waiting for him in the lobby, her face creased with worry. "Alex, thank goodness you're okay. Some government people were here asking about you. They said there were reports of unusual activity in your apartment." "What kind of activity?" Alex tried to keep his voice steady. They wouldn't say, but they had all sorts of equipment with them. "They spent hours going through your place." Mrs. Chen lowered her voice. "They asked me if I'd seen anything strange, any unusual visitors or weird lights." Alex's stomach dropped. "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. You're a good tenant. You keep to yourself. You're quiet. You pay your rent on time." "I told them they had the wrong person." Mrs. Chen patted his arm. "But Alex, whatever trouble you're in, you need to be careful. Those weren't regular police officers." When Alex finally got back to his apartment, it looked like a tornado had hit it. Every drawer had been pulled out, every book opened and shaken, every piece of furniture moved. His laptop was gone. His research papers were scattered everywhere. Even his plants had been examined and repotted. But worst of all, there was no sign of Zephyr anywhere. Alex sank onto his couch, feeling more alone than he had since his grandparents died. In just 1 week, Zephyr had become more than a houseguest or even a friend. The alien had become family. And now it was gone, probably, being poked and prodded by scientists who couldn't possibly understand what they were dealing with. That's when Alex noticed something strange. His favorite succulent, the one Zephyr had healed, was glowing faintly. Not with its own light, but as if something was reflecting off its leaves. Alex leaned closer and saw it. Carved into the plant's pot, so small he almost missed it, was a symbol that definitely wasn't there before. It looked like a combination of letters and numbers, but in a script he'd never seen. "Coordinates," he whispered to himself. Somehow, Zephyr had managed to leave him a message. Alex grabbed his remaining astronomy textbooks and cross-referenced the symbol with every star chart and mathematical notation system he could find. It took him most of the night, but finally, he found a match. The symbols corresponded to a location about 40 miles outside the city, an area where the government maintained several research facilities. Alex had no idea how he was going to get there, much less get inside a government facility to rescue an alien. But he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to abandon his friend. The next morning, Alex called in sick to all his classes and started planning the most impossible rescue mission in human history. He researched the facility online, finding out it was officially listed as an atmospheric research station, but was rumored to be involved in much more classified projects. He studied satellite images, guard rotations, and delivery schedules. He called his cousin Tyler, who worked for a catering company that serviced government buildings, and casually asked about security protocols. He even drove out to the facility and sat in his car for hours, watching the traffic patterns and looking for any weakness in their defenses. It was hopeless. The place was locked down tighter than a bank vault. There were guards, cameras, motion sensors, and probably a dozen other security measures Alex couldn't even see. He was just one college student with no military training, no special skills, and no resources except a beat-up Honda and a burning determination to save his friend. But as Alex sat there in his car, watching the sun set behind the facility's razor-wire fences, he felt something strange in his mind, a whisper, faint but unmistakable. "Alex, can you hear me? Zephyr!" Alex nearly shouted out loud, then caught himself and thought as loudly as he could. "Are you okay? Where are you?" "I am contained, but unharmed for now. The humans here are studying me, but they do not understand what I am. They believe I am simply an unusual life form, not an intelligent being. That's good, right? They won't hurt you if they don't know you're sentient?" There was a pause. "Alex, you must listen carefully. I have not told you the complete truth about why I am here." Alex's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I am not simply a traveler whose ship malfunctioned. I am, how would you say it, a diplomat, a representative sent to evaluate your species." The words hit Alex like a physical blow. "Evaluate us for what?" "My people have been watching Earth for many years. We are part of a larger alliance of civilizations that spans this part of the galaxy. We are considering whether humanity is ready to join us." Alex gripped his steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. "And the decision is based on how individual humans treat those who are different, vulnerable, and alone. How you treated me, Alex, was a test, and you passed beyond our highest expectations. So that's it then? Mission accomplished? You can go home now?" "Not quite. The test is not complete until I return safely to my ship. If I am harmed or killed by your governments, it will be seen as evidence that humanity is too dangerous for contact." Alex felt the weight of the entire future settling on his shoulders. Not just Zephyr's life, but the chance for humanity to join a galactic community all depended on what happened next. "What do you need me to do?" Alex asked. "I need you to be yourself, to be the human who showed kindness to a stranger, who shared his home without asking for anything in return, who cared for a dying plant because it brought beauty to his world." As Alex drove home that night, his mind was made up. He might be just one person against an entire government facility, but he had something they didn't. He had a friend who believed in him, and a reason to fight that was bigger than both of them. Tomorrow, he was going to prove that human compassion was stronger than human fear, even if it killed him. Alex spent the entire weekend planning what might be the stupidest rescue mission in history. He had no special training, no weapons, and no real plan beyond get in, find Zephyr, get out. But he had something that surprised even him: absolute determination. Monday morning came faster than he wanted. Alex put on his cleanest shirt and jeans, grabbed his student ID, and drove to the research facility like he was heading to take the most important exam of his life, which, in a way, he was. The plan was simple because it had to be. Alex's cousin Tyler had mentioned that the catering company delivered lunch to the facility every Monday, All Alex had to do was convince them he was a substitute driver. Get inside the building, find Zephyr, and figure out the rest from there. It was a terrible plan, but it was the only one he had. At 11:30 a.m., Alex parked behind the catering truck at a gas station 2 miles from the facility. The regular driver, a tired-looking guy named Pete, was grabbing coffee and complaining to anyone who would listen about his route. 47 stops today, including that weird government place, Pete grumbled to the cashier. They're so paranoid up there. They make me leave my phone in the truck and wear a visitor badge that probably tracks my every step. Alex saw his opportunity. Excuse me, he said, approaching Pete. You're delivering to the atmospheric research station, right? Pete looked him up and down suspiciously. Yeah, why? I'm a grad student at the university. I'm writing my thesis on government research facilities, and I've been trying to get inside that place for months. Any chance you could use some help today? I'd work for free just for the chance to see the inside. Pete laughed. Kid, you couldn't pay me enough to take responsibility for bringing a stranger into that place. They do background checks on everyone. Alex's heart sank, but then Pete continued. However, Pete said with a grin, if someone happened to hide in the back of my truck and I didn't notice until we were already inside, well, that wouldn't be my fault, would it? 30 minutes later, Alex was crammed between boxes of sandwiches and fruit cups, trying not to breathe too loudly as the truck went through 3 different security checkpoints. Each time, guards opened the back doors and shined flashlights around, but the boxes provided just enough cover to keep Alex hidden. Finally, the truck stopped. Alex heard Pete talking to someone about where to set up the lunch buffet, and then footsteps walking away. After counting to 60, Alex carefully pushed aside the boxes and peered out. He was in some kind of loading dock inside the facility. Security cameras dotted the ceiling, but they were focused on the main entrances, not the storage area where he was hiding. Alex slipped out of the truck and tried to look like he belonged there. The facility was bigger than it looked from outside. Corridors stretched in every direction, lined with doors marked only with numbers and letters that meant nothing to Alex. He had no idea where they might be keeping Zephyr, but he had a secret advantage: their mental connection. Zephyr, Alexei thought as loudly as he could. Can you hear me? I'm inside the building. The response came immediately, filled with surprise and worry. Alex, you should not be here. This place is dangerous for you. Where are you? Can you give me directions? Sub-level 2, Section C, room 217. But Alex, there are many humans here, and they have weapons. You cannot reach me safely. Let me worry about that, Alex replied, looking for stairs or an elevator. Just stay strong. I'm coming for you. Finding sub-level 2 was easier than Alex expected. The facility had clear directional signs everywhere, probably to prevent their own staff from getting lost. But getting there without being caught was another matter entirely. Alex quickly learned that the key to moving through a government facility was to act like you belonged there. He walked with purpose, nodded politely to the few people he passed, and tried to look bored rather than terrified. His university ID, clipped to his shirt, helped him blend in with the other young researchers and interns he saw in the hallways. The elevator required a key card, but Alex got lucky when a scientist in a lab coat held the door for him. Which floor? The man asked. Sub-level 2, Alex said, trying to sound casual. Going to check on the atmospheric samples. The scientist nodded absently and pressed the button. 2 minutes later, Alex was walking down the corridor toward Section C, his heart pounding so loud he was sure everyone could hear it. Room 217 was at the end of a long hallway. Through the small window in the door, Alex could see Zephyr sitting in what looked like a medical examination chair, surrounded by monitors and scanning equipment. The alien appeared unharmed, but was clearly being studied like a lab specimen. Alex tried the door handle. Locked, of course, but as he stood there trying to figure out his next move, he heard voices coming down the corridor. Remarkable cellular structure, unlike anything in our databases. The DNA analysis came back completely alien. We're talking about a genuine extraterrestrial life form. Has it shown any signs of intelligence? Communication attempts? Nothing. It just sits there, probably no more intelligent than a dolphin. Alex pressed himself against the wall as 3 scientists in lab coats walked past, too absorbed in their conversation to notice him. But their words made his blood boil. They had no idea they were talking about one of the most intelligent beings Alex had ever met. After the scientists passed, Alex tried the door again, still locked, but now he was motivated by anger as well as determination. These people were treating his friend like an animal, and that was not okay. Zephyr, Alex thought. Can you help me get this door open? The locking mechanism is electronic. If you can find an access panel, I may be able to guide you through overriding it. Alex found a maintenance panel next to the door and pried it open with his student ID card. Inside was a tangle of wires and circuit boards that meant nothing to him. I'm looking at a bunch of wires, Alex thought. Now what? For the next 10 minutes, Zephyr patiently guided Alex through the most complicated technical procedure of his life. Cut this wire, reconnect it to that terminal, bypass this circuit, reroute power through that pathway. Alex's hands were shaking. So badly he could barely hold the wires steady, but somehow, incredibly, it worked. The door clicked open. Alex slipped inside and rushed to Zephyr's side. Up close, he could see that his friend looked exhausted. The biosuit was pale and flickering like a battery running low. Are you hurt? Alex asked, working to disconnect the monitoring cables. Not physically damaged, but maintaining this form. While being scanned is draining my energy reserves. I am tired. Alex helped Zephyr stand and immediately felt how weak his friend had become. Can you walk? For a short distance. But Alex, how do we escape? There are guards everywhere. That's when Alex realized he'd been so focused on finding Zephyr that he hadn't actually planned the escape part. They were trapped in a government facility, 2 levels underground, with no way out except through corridors full of armed guards. But before Alex could panic completely, alarms started blaring throughout the building. Red lights flashed in the hallway, and a computerized voice announced, "Security breach in sub-level 2. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill." Alex and Zephyr looked at each other in confusion. "Did you do that?" Alex asked. "No, but..." Zephyr's eyes widened. "Alex, my ship. It has been monitoring my location. If I am in danger, it is programmed to create a distraction." Through the small window, they could see people running past in the corridor, heading for the emergency exits. Whatever Zephyr's ship was doing, it was working. "This is our chance," Alex said, supporting Zephyr as they moved toward the door. "Can you manage the walk to the surface?" "With your help, yes." The next 15 minutes were the longest of Alex's life. Supporting Zephyr, they made their way through corridors filled with panicking scientists and security personnel. Everyone was too focused on the emergency to pay attention to one young man helping what appeared to be a sick colleague. They made it to the main level just as Alex heard someone shouting behind them, "The specimen is missing. Lock down the entire facility." "Run," Zephyr whispered, even though Alex could tell his friend could barely walk. They stumbled through the main entrance as guards rushed past them in the opposite direction. Alex's truck was still in the parking lot, and somehow they made it there without being stopped. As Alex helped Zephyr into the passenger seat, he looked back at the facility. In the distance, he could see strange lights in the sky. Zephyr's ship, creating enough of a light show to keep everyone distracted. "Where to now?" Alex asked, starting the engine. "The crash site. My ship will meet us there." As they drove away from the facility, Alex realized something had changed between them. This wasn't just about one human helping one alien anymore. They had become a team, working together to overcome impossible odds. "Alex," Zephyr said quietly as they drove through the night. "What you did today, risking your safety for mine, this will be remembered by my people for generations." "I just did what anyone would do for a friend," Alex replied. No, Zephyr said firmly. You did what the very best of humanity would do, and that makes all the difference. 6 months later, Alex's life looked nothing like it had before that night when he woke up to find an alien sitting on his bed. For one thing, he wasn't living in a tiny studio apartment anymore. The government had relocated him to a much nicer place after what they politely called the incident at the research facility. It turned out that breaking into a classified government building to rescue an extraterrestrial being was the kind of thing that got you noticed by very important people. But instead of throwing him in prison, they offered him a job. Apparently, being the first human to successfully communicate with an alien made him pretty valuable. Alex's official title was Interspecies Cultural Liaison, which sounded way more impressive than it actually was. Most days, he felt like a translator at the weirdest family reunion in history. Alex. Zephyr's voice echoed in his mind as he sat at his new desk in what was formerly the Atmospheric Research Station. The delegation from Kepler 442b is asking about human mating rituals again. Alex looked up from his computer to see Zephyr standing in the doorway, no longer needing to hide its true appearance. The alien looked much healthier now, its biosuit a vibrant silver color that meant it was well-fed and content. Tell them, we'll cover that in next week's cultural orientation session, Alex replied. Right now I'm trying to explain to the Centauri delegation why humans keep animals as companions instead of food sources. The research facility had been transformed into Earth's first official alien embassy. What started as a secret government lab was now a bustling center where representatives from 12 different worlds came to learn about humanity. And somehow, Alex had become their primary teacher. It wasn't always easy. Last week, he'd had to explain to a delegation of beings made entirely of crystalline structures why humans needed to eat organic matter to survive. The week before that, he'd spent 3 hours convincing a group of telepathic visitors that humans weren't mentally deficient just because they couldn't read minds. But the hardest part wasn't the cultural differences or the language barriers. It was the constant awareness that everything he said and did was being evaluated. Every interaction with alien visitors was essentially a test of whether humanity deserved a place in the galactic community. Alex, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the facility's new director, appeared in his doorway. We've got a situation. The delegation from Wolf 359 wants to observe a typical human family gathering. Any ideas? Alex rubbed his temples. Define typical. No, normal family stuff. Eating together, celebrating, showing affection. Dr. Walsh, there's no such thing as a typical human family. We've got families that eat dinner together every night and families that only see each other at holidays. We've got families that hug constantly and families that show love by arguing with each other. So what do we show them? Alex thought for a moment. My sister Diana is having a birthday party for her daughter this weekend. It's going to be chaos. Kids running around, adults trying to have conversations while chasing toddlers. Someone will probably spill something on the carpet, and my uncle will definitely tell his terrible jokes. Want to bring some aliens to that? Dr. Walsh looked uncertain. Will it give them a good impression of humanity? It'll give them a real impression of humanity. Isn't that what we want? That Saturday, Alex found himself in the surreal position of hosting 3 alien visitors at his 5-year-old niece Lucy's birthday party. Zephyr was there too, having become something of a celebrity among the local alien community. The visitors included Commander Thax from Wolf 359, a 7-foot-tall being that looked like a cross between a praying mantis and a tree. Dr. Vel 9 from Proxima Centauri, who existed as a glowing energy field inside a containment suit, and Ripple, whose species didn't use individual names but who let Alex call her that because she communicated through wave patterns. Uncle Alex! Lucy came running up to him, completely unfazed by the fact that one of his friends was a talking tree. Is Zephyr coming to my party? Zephyr's already here, kiddo. And I brought some other friends, too. Lucy looked up at Commander Thax with the fearless curiosity that only 5-year-olds possess. Are you a giant bug? Lucy, Alex's sister Diana rushed over, looking mortified. You can't just ask people if they're bugs. But Commander Thax was delighted. Through the translation device around its neck, it said, I am indeed insectoid in nature, small human. Are you a tiny mammal? Lucy giggled. I'm not tiny, I'm 5. And just like that, the ice was broken. Within an hour, Commander Thax was helping Lucy blow up balloons with remarkable efficiency. Dr. Vel-9 was creating light shows that had all the kids mesmerized, and Ripple was teaching Alex's teenage nephew how to communicate through music patterns. Alex watched from the kitchen as his family interacted with beings from other worlds like it was the most natural thing in the universe. His dad was showing Commander Thax photos from his coin collection. His mom was trying to figure out if Dr. Vel-9 could eat birthday cake or if she needed to prepare something else. His uncle was telling his terrible jokes to Ripple, who apparently found human humor fascinating. Your family unit is very cohesive, Zephyr observed, joining Alex by the kitchen window, despite significant individual differences in personality and interests. That's what families do, Alex said. We stick together even when we drive each other crazy. This is what my people needed to understand about humans, Zephyr continued. Your ability to form bonds across differences, to care for those who are not like you, to welcome strangers into your communities. These are rare traits in the galaxy. Alex watched his niece trying to teach Commander Thax how to play patty cake with its multiple arms. So we passed the test? With distinction. The Galactic Council has voted unanimously to offer Earth full membership. Alex nearly choked on his soda. Full membership? Just like that? Not just like that. It took months of deliberation and dozens of reports from observers like myself. But your species has demonstrated something that many advanced civilizations have lost. The ability to see others as individuals rather than threats. Later that evening, after the alien visitors had returned to the facility and the birthday party had wound down, Alex sat on his sister's porch with Zephyr. The stars looked different now that Alex knew some of them had friends living around them. So what happens now? Alex asked. Do you go home? Eventually. But first, there is much work to do. Earth will need teachers, guides, and translators as your people begin to interact with the galactic community. The position I have suggested for you is significant. What kind of position? Earth's first galactic ambassador. You would represent your entire species in the Galactic Council. Alex stared at his friend. Me? Zephyr, 6 months ago, I was a struggling grad student who couldn't even keep a plant alive. I'm not qualified to represent humanity. You are precisely the human for this role, Zephyr replied firmly. You have shown kindness to a stranger, courage in the face of danger, and wisdom in your interactions with my people. These are the qualities the galaxy needs from Earth's representative. As they sat there in comfortable silence, Alex thought about how much his life had changed since that night when he'd chosen to help instead of fear, to trust instead of doubt. He'd gone from being lonely and directionless to having friends across the galaxy and a purpose that was literally out of this world. Can I ask you something? Alex said. That first night, when you said your ship needed repairs, was any of that true? Zephyr's mental voice carried what Alex had learned to recognize as amusement. The repairs were real, but they could have been completed in hours, not days. I chose to stay because I sensed something special about you, something that gave me hope for your entire species. What if I had said no? What if I'd called the police or tried to capture you? Then this conversation would never have happened. Earth would have been marked as too dangerous for contact, and humanity would have remained alone in the universe. Alex let that sink in. The future of his entire species had hinged on one moment of choosing compassion over fear. It was both terrifying and inspiring. 6 months later, Alex was settling into his new role as Earth's galactic ambassador when he got an unexpected visitor. Danny, his old roommate, showed up at the facility looking completely overwhelmed. "Dude," Danny said, staring around at the bustling alien embassy that used to be a secret research station. "When you said you were working with the government." "Now, this is not what I pictured," Alex grinned. "Want a tour? I can introduce you to Commander Thax. It turns out giant insectoid beings love college football as much as you do." As Alex showed Danny around the facility, introducing him to beings from worlds Danny had never imagined, he realized something important. The aliens weren't the only ones who had been testing humanity. Humanity had been testing itself. Every day, humans were choosing how to react to the impossible. Some chose fear, some chose wonder, but more and more were choosing acceptance. Kids like his niece Lucy were growing up in a world where having alien friends was normal. Scientists were collaborating with beings whose technology was centuries ahead of Earth's. Artists were creating works inspired by cultures from across the galaxy. Humanity was becoming something new, something better. And it had all started with one simple choice: to see a stranger not as a threat, but as a